Welcome back, everyone. In today's video, we'll be talking about two Scarlet Violet sets that no one is talking about, and you'll want to know why. Now, let me tell you, Scarlet Violet's biggest moments are still ahead of us. Soon, Surging Sparks will be hitting the shelves, and as soon as it does, the Pokemon Company will start ramping up the hype for the highly anticipated Japanese high-class set, Terrestrial Festival. Terrestrial Festival is set to be released in December of this year, and it is expected to include the Terra-type evolutions. Now, what's great about this set is that it's going to give us clues into what's going to be in our English holiday set, Prismatic Evolutions, which is set to release in January of 2025. Now, my guess is, once that set comes out, Pokemon will start giving us clues into what's going to be in the Japanese sets, Heatwave Arena, and the much anticipated Glory of Team Rocket. And those sets are going to create a lot of hype because those sets are supposed to have the partner Pokemon and the Rocket Pokemon, which I am very excited for because as a vintage collector and WotC, the gym sets and the Team Rocket sets are some of my favorite. But do you kind of see where I'm going with all of this? The Pokemon hype train never stops. It's honestly really easy to get swept up in the constant flow of new releases in this hobby and forget to appreciate the sets that are right in front of us. Now in this video, that's where I come in. I'm your pit stop on this Pokemon Express. Wow. Today we're hitting pause to talk about two under-the-radar Scarlet Violet sets, Scarlet Violet Base and Paradox Rift. Now these sets are kind of seen as the overlooked stepchildren of the era, but I think they have a lot more to offer than people think. Now, I want to go through what makes these two sets unique and why they deserve a second look. Now let's start off by taking a closer look at Scarlet Violet Base, the groundbreaking first set in the Scarlet Violet era that has truly set the stage for what makes this era so special and unique. It introduced us to silver borders in English, illustration rares, special illustration rares, story arts, and last but not least, the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box promos that have changed the game for collectors. Some of the biggest highlights in Scarlet Violet Base is the introduction to illustration rares and special illustration rares. Illustration rares and special illustration rares are at the core of what makes the Scarlet Violet Base set so special, and how they can come together to create story arts. Now let's take a look at the Ralts evolution line in Scarlet Violet Base. Here we have the illustration rares Ralts and Kirlia and the special illustration rare Gardevoir. And as you see, when we line these cards up, they tell a touching story of Ralts growing up with their trainers, who age alongside it until Gardevoir becomes their caregiver. It's a heartwarming narrative that is rare to see in any TCG set. Another example of a story art in Scarlet Violet Base is the illustration rare Tarantula and the special illustration rare Spidops, a clever scene where it appears that a Scyther is about to strike Tarantula, but unknowingly is about to be Spidops' prey. And let's not forget about the mascots of Scarlet Violet Base. We have Miraidon and Koraidon special illustration rares. And for fans of unique illustration rares, we have the Pokemon Center ETB exclusive promos for both Miraidon and Koraidon. And the set includes some amazing Kanto illustration rares like Slowpoke and Drowsy, both of which have low pop in PSA 10 and are selling above $100 in those grades. Now, some might tell you that Scarlet Violet Base set had much easier pull rates, which means that these cards were easier to pull and will not hold the same long-term value as some of the more recent illustration rares and special illustration rares, which supposedly have harder pull rates. But what's honestly often overlooked is the print quality of Scarlet Violet Base. When the set released, the set had really rough print quality. We were seeing issues with whitening, print lines, and edge lifts, and it was pretty common to see. This makes high-graded copies much harder to come by and really hard to grade yourself. And as time goes on, the demand for these cards in PSA 10 will rise. So you can imagine that in the future, there will be a lot of people that want to rip Scarlet Violet Base in hopes to find flawless copies that they can grade in PSA 10 for themselves. Now let's dive into the other set on our radar, Paradox Rift. Now Paradox Rift is the fourth mainline set in the Scarlet Violet block. It leans heavily into the intriguing theme of ancient and future Pokemon, known as Paradox Pokemon. Here we see Iron Hands, Iron Valiant, Sandy Shocks, and the fan favorite Roaring Moon. Now, Roaring Moon is sort of seen as the mascot of Paradox Rift, and at release, it was the most expensive card in the set. But surprisingly, that's changed. Now, I want to start off with what sets Paradox Rift apart from any other set in the Scarlet and Violet era, and that's its sheer volume of illustration rares. It has nearly the most illustration rares of any Scarlet and Violet set, with a whopping 34 illustration rares in the set. And if you include the Screamtail and Iron Bundle ETB promos, both the regular and the Pokemon Center stamp promos, that brings it up to 38. That's nearly as many as Paldea Evolved. Now, Paldea Evolved actually has more, but it's because it has more of the cards in the set. It has 38 as well, but because we only got the Pikachu ETB promo and the stamp promo, more cards are actually in the set versus just promos that you receive in the ETBs. What makes Paradox Rift a set worth buying into right now, knowing that? With Paradox Rift having so many illustration rares, you'll find that pulling an illustration rare isn't so tough. But when it comes to pulling a specific illustration rare, that's where the real challenge is. And that brings us to the most expensive card in Paradox Rift, the Epic Groudon illustration rare. This stunning card depicts Groudon, a Gen 3 legendary red Godzilla-like Pokemon standing at the base of an erupting volcano, lava dripping into the crashing waves below. Now, at the time of recording, this card has been selling for around $60 on TCG Player and eBay. Now, that's nearly $10 more than the mascot of this set, Roaring Moon. So this card has surpassed Roaring Moon in terms of pricing, and it's going back and forth between the two. Now, what I'm about to tell you sounds crazy because I'm basically going to tell you to go buy the most expensive card from this set right now. If you can buy this card raw, minty, that's potentially gradable, it's 100% worth buying right now. Now, if you think about what Groudon's potential could be, just look at Paldea Evolved. We can look at the Tyranitar illustration rare, for instance. That card's selling for around $35 to $40 the last I checked, raw, and in a PSA 10, it's nearly $300. Now, if we take it a step further, we can even look at the Magikarp from this set. Magikarp is selling for $100 to $150 raw, and in a PSA 10, around $600. So, like I said, I think buying Groudon at its current price right now is not a bad idea. I believe Brian over at PokeNE is selling a whole entire case for $600. I'll leave a link to his website in the description. Lastly, Paradox Rift has some of the most underappreciated special illustration rares from any Scarlet and Violet set. For instance, we can take a look at the Altaria, which reminds me a lot of the Aerodactyl from Lost Origin and the Dragonite from Evolving Skies. Then we have Golisopod, which is another standout special illustration rare from the set, illustrated by Oku, who had also illustrated the Wimpod illustration rare, which paired together creates another story art. And we can't forget another Gen 3 fan favorite dragon type Pokemon like Garchomp. Now hear me out. I know it's wearing that silly Terra hat, I get it, it's a love it or hate it thing with collectors, but as more of these Terra type special illustration rares come out, especially like the new rainbow border ones that we got in Stellar Crown with the Terapagos and the Galvantula, and then the Pikachu and the Alolan Executor that we're getting from Surging Sparks. And I can't even imagine what the Terra type evolutions are going to look like, but I know that with time, collectors are going to want all of them. Collectors are going to chase these after Scarlet and Violet is over, and we have a full list of what these Terra type special illustration rares look like. So keep that in mind when you're looking at these cards. Paradox Rift is selling for about $100 to $99 as a booster box, and if you're lucky, you can find cases around the $600 mark. And that goes for Scarlet and Violet base as well. So I would just keep an eye out, and I would probably recommend buying them now as they're as cheap as they are. Because if we look at sets like Paldea Evolved and Surging Sparks, which isn't even out yet, they're already selling for way more, which is it's just crazy to me. Keep an eye out for holiday deals these last couple months of the year, and I'm sure you'll find some great deals. So there you have it. 2 underappreciated Scarlet and Violet sets that I think deserve a closer look. Whether it's the storytelling to the low pop gems of Scarlet and Violet base, to the epic illustration rares and special illustration rares of Paradox Rift. I just think that these sets have so much more to offer than what others are telling you about, especially at their current prices, because you have to remember that these sets don't stay cheap forever. And if any time's a good time to buy, now is the right time. And so if you guys found this information helpful, please leave a like. A comment goes a long way. I'd love to hear from you. If you're buying these sets, if you're grading these cards from these sets, let me know in the comments. And if you want to see more content from me, please subscribe, hit the notification bell. We got a big PSA sub coming soon that we're going to be doing a grading reveal video, which I'm really excited for. It's some of my crew, my Cards and Coffee crew. So if you want to see that video, make sure you stick around. And until next time, happy collecting, y'all. Peace.